Hello, everybody, and welcome to the FloTrack Podcast, presented by Wonderful Pistachios. I'm Livik Pone, joined with Ashley Tishins and Corey Mall. How's everyone doing as we're embracing the last couple days before the start of the Paris Olympic Games?
I feel like it's like the calm before the storm almost, right? It's like, all right, we know it's coming, the anticipation's building, and then it's going to be just like a couple weeks of craziness.
I know. Corey, how are you feeling?
Great.
Great, that's it? Just great?
Not excited?
I'm great.
Okay. Corey's great. All right, then. Okay, so it's just been an eventful week. We witnessed Quincy Wilson lower the U18 and national high school record for the third time this year at the PUMA American Track League Holloway Pro Classic in Gainesville. The London Diamond League didn't disappoint. And of course, as I just mentioned, the Olympics are just a few days away. So we're about to dive into everything. So let's go ahead and start with the biggest headliner of the week. Quincy Wilson goes 44-20 to not only break the records, as I mentioned, but also win that race. I know we have a video from this amazing race that he just put together. But Ashley, what was just your overall thoughts on his performance?
I mean, my goodness, yeah, we got the race video up here now, as you can see. Went out like how he normally does. He's always going to go out hard, but he wasn't in the lead. It was Bryce Deadman who was in the lead out at the front. And then, as you can see, we're going to come to the curve here. And I think the biggest takeaway from this race I think most of us already know, Quincy Wilson's a fighter, right? Like, Bryce Deadman has, as you can see, a very strong kick. He's usually a good finisher there, but he gets out-kicked by the 16-year-old, Quincy Wilson. And then, as you're going to see here, goes to the line. Boom, outleans Bryce Deadman, 44-20. Again, this kid's out of this world. I mean, he did this after there was a weather delay to kick off the meet. Obviously, the track was definitely a little wet out there, as you could see from that video. And, I mean, to me, this is just like, that's insane to think that the previous record was 44.59. Then he lowered that by 0.39 seconds. I mean, that's a big jump, especially in a 400. And it puts him among the top 10 in the world this year, among everyone. So I think for me now, I think this has been the conversation is like, all right, now what's his place when it comes to the what relays he's going to run in Paris? I mean, I think at least maybe put him in the mix for the mixed 4x4 final. I mean, shoot, again, he's one of the best in the U.S. right now, and he just proved it. And again, I think it's remarkable that, he ran his high school season, ran 3 rounds at the Olympic trials, and then still comes out here a month later and runs even faster, right? So I think this just shows that, it's working for him, and he's just a once-in-a-generation talent.
Mm-hmm. Corey, what were your thoughts?
Well, he's number 8 in the world.
Yeah, number 8.
I would actually qualify him if he was a British athlete into their team. They would pick him.
Yeah, exactly.
They would actually pick him, and they would not pick him even if he had a world ranking. So that's good. I think 44.20 is an amazing performance overall from Quincy. 0.4 of a second faster than his 44.59. One race, obviously one opportunity, a couple weeks from the Olympic trials, so he was able to get some training in. He said afterward that, he worked on some things after the trials to help him continue to prepare for the Olympics. And then he just kind of left his interview by saying, I hope I'm able to run. Because he is not guaranteed. I know you said you hope to see him in a mixed 4x4 first round or a final, but that is not guaranteed. And I think we have to look at, the roster that is able and potentially available to run here. That's the biggest question mark because we have, Quincy Hall, Michael Norman, Chris Bailey, Vernon Norwood, Quincy, Bryce Deadman, and then there's Noah Lyles, Rai Benjamin, even Trevor Bassett. All these men can be picked to run in the 4x4. Now, not all of them will probably be on the mixed 4x4. That's probably his best opportunity, but I don't know. It's not guaranteed. I think that's something that probably is crossing his mind right now. So he's got to do everything in his power to make sure he gives himself the best chance possible.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. Nothing is guaranteed. We already know just how the Americans work when it comes to selecting these teams. You just never know. Besides, here are the athletes that potentially could be on this relay. But I know I've mentioned this before. I think going into this meet before, I was like, okay, I can see him on the mixed relay. I can see it. But after he dropped a 44.20, I was almost in disbelief because it's just how much faster can Quincy Wilson get? Just when you think, running that 44.5, you're like, oh, wow, that's incredible. But to see a 16-year-old break that barrier and go through 44.20 is insane. So now my brain is thinking, okay, since we've done this, number 8 in the world, as we're mentioning, the 3rd fastest American this year, I feel like now we need to have more conversation about like which relay is he going to be a part of. Can he be on the men's 4x4 outside of the mixed relay as well? I feel like now you have to really consider Quincy as one of the top individuals for these relays.
See, I think what you do here, right, is if you're USA, like first round of the mixed 4x4, you put him on there, you see how he does, right? That'll be his first chance to really go out there, run around at the Olympics, maybe get some of those nerves out, and then from there, hopefully, if he does well, you keep him on that final. Now, there's politics, and I'm sure it's going to come down to like, do we want to put a 16-year-old on?
They're not going to put him on
the
actual men's 4x4.
No.
Not even.
That's what I was saying. No.
Yeah. No.
You're number 8 in the world.
No.
Number 8
he's
in the
a 16-year-old. Like, and I, we all understand how talented he is, but you are still really, really young. You're green at this point at the Olympics, and you have all these guys that, they want to win that gold medal, right? And they can't come up any way short. And there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And that's not to say that Quincy would not be capable, but I'm just saying they're going to put their trust in the men.
I disagree. I think after this kind of performance,
disagree with the thought, or disagree?
I can see him running the qualifying round of a 4x4, of the men 4x4. After what he just put together,
who are you going to leave off then? Which guy are you going to leave off?
I don't even know. But a qualifying round, like, you're not going to put Quincy Hall in a qualifying round.
You're not going to put
Hall. You said he's looking for a gold medal in this Open 400.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like the actual finals, but definitely through the rounds, Quincy Wilson is capable of leading off a 4x4.
First round of the men's 4x4, August 9th. August 10th is the final.
Yeah.
So the 400's before that, right?
Yes, 400. So first round is August 4th. The repechage round is August 5th. The semifinals the 6th, and then the 400 finals the 7th. That would be a lot of back-to-back.
Yeah, it is.
So
I
think
2 days of rest before you go into the 4x4s, though.
I do think typically, though, they aren't going to put all their top dogs in the 4x4 prelim.
They won't, but they're not gonna risk putting they're gonna have at least 1 or 2 in that first round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have to bank it, basically.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, like, there's still, as I mentioned, 10 guys that could potentially feature in that 4x4.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the mixed relay is where that's Quincy Wilson's time to shine.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure.
I think I have to agree with Corey. Like, I think that's when you let some of your more veterans. I mean, that's obviously a huge race. And again, we all know Quincy Wilson is capable of running on that 4x4. Shoot, he ran 44:20. Like, but I do agree. Like, I mean, it's beyond times, and I think that's where some of that comes into play.
Yeah, I know. I agree to disagree. I definitely think that he has an opportunity to at least run the first leg of the 4x4. He just showcased, even being able to run through the rounds, the times that he was able to, and even after his post-race interview, he was like, I felt like I had room left in the tank. And I honestly think he probably wasn't able to showcase all of that because you're constantly battling through all those rounds. And so now it's a completely different environment. And regardless, I think Quincy, whichever relay he's a part of, could definitely make an impact as well. But Quincy wasn't the only top athlete that was able to compete at the PUMA Atlanta Holloway Pro Classic. Corey, who were some of the athletes that caught your attention from this meet as well?
Well, the 200, Arian, 1992 to win an illegal win, I think, again, showing that he's capable of getting a medal and maybe even going for a gold. I know it's going to be very, very tough. There's a lot of guys that Noah, that's his baby. That's Noah's baby. There's a lot of men that can win the 200. I think he is certainly still there. I thought it was interesting that Brian Lavelle, who's the Jamaican 200-meter national champion, did not do well at all. 27.5. He got beat by a high schooler, Jaden Wiley, who's headed off the World U20s at the end of August. I think that's concerning for me. Does anyone agree?
Yeah, I would agree. Like, if you're a national champion and you can't even beat a high schooler, that's a little concerning.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there, but that was concerning. And then Josh Hoey in the 800. I just have sort of a thought on him. He ran 144.22, right? He ran 144.12 at U.S. trials. He won 143.80 in Belgium on July 13th. Came 6 days later to the Holloway Pro Classic. This guy is in incredible form right now. And I went into the numbers to see just like, how fast is he going in relation to how, trials qualifiers have performed in the past. Like, he got bumped out by one of the fastest 800-meter U.S. fields in since 2000, really. I looked down at all the third best times in U.S. history over the given years, and I mean, he's faster than them. Like 2016, he's faster than the third best guy. In 2012, he was faster than the third best guy. 08, 04, by good margin here. Like Josh Holloway, gosh, what a hard year.
Yeah.
What a tough beat to run 1:43.8 and not be at the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I mean, it says something about the men's 800 field.
Yeah.
Honestly, but if you look at it in the world, too, this year, I mean, it's at a whole nother level. I mean, there's now talks about at the Olympics challenging the world record. I mean, when's the last time we've talked about challenging David Rudisha's world record? Like, that's an insane record. Yeah. So I think, like, that just shows that the event is really elevated, even especially at the U.S. level. And kudos to Josh Holloway. He's still out here running, and despite all that, and still running fast.
Insane. Ashley, what about for you?
I think for me, the highlight came at the very end of the meet. Christian Taylor, one of the best ever in world history at the men's triple jump, final jump of his career. I think we have a video of it here. It was kind of a cool moment. Like, again, he got to close out the meet, and they had just a huge crowd surrounding the pit on the infield, and they really gave him his chance to have that moment with the crowd. He went to Florida, so this is kind of on his home track. If you're looking at his resume, 2-time Olympic champion, 4-time world champion, 5-time Diamond League final winner. I mean, like, that is just so many, that's called someone being able to perform at the highest of levels year in and year out. And so I was glad that he was able to have this moment. Loved kind of the cool shot there with looked like a drone too.
Never see that at triple jump.
No. I mean, I feel like that was a cool way to capture this moment and, a way to send him off.
Yeah, and his best jump was actually the last one with everyone just surrounding him. And you can see him embracing Coach Holloway here of Florida. This man has done so much for the sport, and just even after this jump, just if you just scroll through your social media and just type in Christian Taylor, like, there was just so much love for this man because he's just done so much for our sport and especially for Team USA. And like you said, Ashley, it's one of the best ways to kind of send him off. Have this moment. You have literally the last person, I think, on the track, on the runway, and have your best jump, be surrounded by friends, family, and to do it at your alma mater as well.
He popped some champagne too afterwards. I got to celebrate.
That's the way. That's the way to do it. I agree with each and every one of you. Those were also amazing events and races to watch. I have 3 that I want to highlight as well. We had Skylar Franklin. I was really surprised to see her compete. I saw her on the lane assignments, but then just being able to watch her on the track, I was like, oh, there's Skylar Franklin. She is a rising junior now from Mountain Verde Academy in Florida. She finished 3rd in this 400 meters with a 51.01, which is number 3 all time for a high schooler, improved on her U.S. number 1 performance. She just looked strong coming home, was able to edge out athletes like Courtney Acullo. And that was a Longhorn legend during my time. So shout out to Skylar Franklin. I also was very impressed by Grace Starks in the 100-meter hurdles. She had a very loaded field to run against. She had to take down the world record holder, Toby Umusane and Masai Russell in this race. And she went 12:58 into a negative 1.7 wind. And I know some of the times weren't as fast, but the wind was definitely a factor into that, and they also had that rain delay too, so it kind of pushed everything back. But the fact that Grace Starks was able to kind of take down some individuals who I think could make that Olympic final just shows the kind of fitness level that she's at.
I think she can make an Olympic final. I think.
Yeah, I mean, Grace Stark looks so good.
She can win a gold medal.
Yeah,
she's a winner.
Yeah,
this entire year she's won.
Yeah,
she knows how to win. I think putting her out there against these 2 women, showing herself like this, I think, proves to me that she is capable.
I mean, you mentioned absolutely. She beat Toby Amusan, world record holder, Masai Russell, U.S. champion. I mean, shoot, like, what? How better can you have for a tune-up before the Olympics? And like you mentioned, she's been so consistent, won NCAAs, and I think it's also a testament. Like, it's so hard to continue that momentum after an NCAA season. So for her to still be out here performing at like the best of the world, I think that's pretty remarkable. And again, shows me she can win a medal.
Yeah. I agree. And I think to be able to do that also in Florida against the conditions that they have, again, just shows that she's ready to go. Can we also talk about the women's 800 meters? Because this was one of the highlights going into it. This was the first race for Athing Mu since the Olympic trials. And she had to face athletes like Addie Wiley and Olivia Baker. But the Kenyan Dorcas Uwa won that race with a 1:58.19. And I applaud Athing Mu for how she just went out there and raced. And she kind of executed the race that we normally see her, how she typically runs. She likes to be out in front. She was kind of leading the way. But it was the Kenyan who was able to come away with the finish, had a stronger kick coming home the last 100 meters, clocked a 1:58.19. Addie Wiley was second with a 1:58.71, and then Athing Mu was finishing fifth there. So what were our kind of takeaways from this 800-meter race?
I think I'm just at least happy to see her out there.
Yeah.
It may not have been necessarily what she wanted to do.
Right.
But she went out there and she gave it her best effort, and she got out kicked at the end. I mean, it happens. And I think for Athing, right, you have to have this new mindset of like almost just finding ways to bounce back. You know what I mean? Like, you can't let that one race define you, even though that was like the talk of the Olympic trials and it was so unfortunate. But I guess now for Athing Mu, it's whatever chapter she wants to go on to next for, through the Olympics and afterward and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Corey, any thoughts?
It's a bad moment, but like she's gonna be back. Like no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I think Athing can look to next year and just reestablish herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all. There's a lot of talk about, like Athing won't ever run again, yada yada. No, that's garbage. No, she is going to run again. She's going to reestablish herself. She's going to be among the best in the world. She just didn't make the Olympics this year. It's a really tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But she will be back. I guarantee it.
Next year's World Championship year, new goals.
Reset, restart, and I feel like when you have these moments, you learn and you grow from them too. And I think Lillian, one of our contributors from Europe, I think asked Trey Cunningham, like, just the thought of not hitting that goal, but still being able to show up. And I really think that speaks volumes for athletes like Athing Mu and other athletes who don't make that Olympic team to just get out there and compete and just find the love again. And just, again, as Ashley mentioned, just kind of reset, refocus. And with it being a world championship year, there's something to look forward to in the upcoming year. So with all that being said, the London Diamond League brought out so many highlights. I was just fascinated by the amount of great performances that we saw in London. It was almost a sellout crowd. There was almost 60,000 people, according to World Athletics, that were there. And I can just sense the energy when you watch just the replays of a lot of these races. Corey, for you, what was some of those big highlights for you from this meet?
So just a little clarification. I'm a big soccer guy. Whenever they say sellout, it's paid tickets.
Right.
So
not necessarily people showing up.
Right. So just a little bit of a qualifier there. That's a lot of people to see a track meet. I'm sure there was a ton, but
did you see it? It was like so many people were there.
Yes, right.
Massive.
But
the
like
energy was there.
But like true sellout. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we know.
Just a little asterisk. The asterisk.
The posturing by organizers is usually like up here, and then the reality is usually a little bit lower. Still, great meet. Just saying. Noah Lyles, to me, was the story. Obviously, he cut a little bit of time off his personal best. He ran 9.81. Continues to back up his talk. I think if you ask anybody on the street who knows track, they either are going to love what Noah Lyles is doing, or they're going to hate what Noah Lyles is doing. But what Noah Lyles is doing is he's winning, and beating a Connie Simbine here. Let's see had a great start.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he ran really well, but Noah just beat him, and he beat these guys again and again and again. And I think he's like the perfect person for the Olympics to build a narrative and a storyline around, because he's like Carl Lewis in the 80s. People just want to hear what he has to say, but they also need to see him win and back up that U.S. power. So I think he goes into the Olympics on a great momentous run, and this is a great reminder to me that he could win a 100-meter title. People are saying that he won't. There are a lot of people who are saying that he won't win a 100-meter title, but I beg to differ. I think he will.
For Noah?
Noah Lyles, yes. Yeah.
Ashley, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? I mean, I can't knock him, right? Because he ran 981 PR heading into the Olympics. Like, you can't. Those are the facts, in your face, and you're staring at it. I mean, I watched the race, and I mean, his start looked better than it has in the past. I mean, again, like, I think once he gets to his top end speed, he's hard to beat. So, I mean, I can't say that he's not the favorite. I mean, he's the defending world champion.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, people have ran faster, like Kashane Thompson. I think that's what people are most looking forward to seeing is, like, they haven't raced each other. So it's like, because Kashane Thompson's the fastest man in the world so far this year. How is he going to show up at the Olympics versus Noah Lyles?
Yeah.
But I mean, this, at least for Noah Lyles' sake, shows that he's in form.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, Ashley, for you, what was your highlight from this meet?
I think for me, it's got to be the women's 800. I mean, that was a historic race. Keely Hodgkinson, number 6 all-time in world history, 1:54.61. I mean, that's just remarkable. If you watch that race too, right, I think she ran this race so smartly. The pacer that was pacing the ladies through, I think it was about 500 meters, the pacer went out way too fast, but Keely Hodgkinson realized that, and so she stuck off the pacer along with the rest of the field, and so she goes through right where she wants to, didn't go out too fast. And again, I feel like that to me shows like having this awareness of like where you're at with your fitness level and like what will get you to the finish line to a fast time. And I mean, the time she pulled along with her, Gemma Reekie was under 1:56, 4 girls in total under 1:57. Like, and then Allie Wilson too, she set a new PB as the lone American in the field. So I think to me, this signals that we're going to have, sure, Athing Mu may not be in this final of the Olympics, but this is still going to be an epic 800 race in Paris.
Yes.
Like, I think we could see some fireworks. If we're running 1:54 leading into Paris, like, that's a sign that we could see something special to come, I think.
Yeah, I agree with your perspective of just like with the pacer going out and Keely and Gemma were just like, oh, wait, this is too fast. But being able to be like, okay, we're going to run this race how we should, and just being able to kind of pivot from that is great. For me, I have 2 outside of the 800. I loved the women's 200-meter field with Gabby Thomas because she had to come from behind. First of all, Dina Asher-Smith, her start was unbelievable. I think that was one of the best starts I have seen from Dina.
Yeah, she just got to put together the final pieces, though.
Yes. The first 150, if it was a 150 race, oh my goodness. So Dina, just like the last 50 meters, if she can tweak that, she could definitely, I can see her being someone on the podium. Julian Alfred, of course, Dina Asher-Smith and Julian Alfred, they train together. So here comes Julian on the outside. But then Gabby sneaks in with a little lean at the finish line there and goes 21.82 to take down that field. Julian Alfred was second with the 21.86. Dina Asher-Smith, 22.07. But for me, I think the race that I've constantly had on replay has been the women's 400 meters. You had Nikisha Price, who made her Diamond League debut and set a Diamond League record of 48.57. Not only was this a Jamaican record, a world lead, this was the 7th fastest time in history on the world list. This puts her in front of Sonia Richards-Ross. And the previous record was 48.97, which was set back by Shanae Miller-Weibo, who is a legend in the sport, in Monaco 6 years ago. So the fact that no one else has run faster than 48.97 from the Diamond League circuit is just incredible. And in that same exact race, Natalia Kaczmarek finished second with a 48.90, and that was just 0.08 of a second off of the Polish record. So lots of great things happening in that 400-meter field. And again, just makes me even more excited for that 400 meters in Paris.
And I think, again, going back to kind of what we talked about with Grace Stark, that's a testament, again, to Keisha Price, long NCAA season, ran so well NCAAs, both in that open 4 and then that 4x400 relay with Arkansas, and she's still just improving. So I think this is a good sign that she's going to be one of those ladies fighting for medals in Paris.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Quick question.
Yes.
Who wins, Nikisha Price or Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone?
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, for sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she's the GOAT. I think if she had, okay, let's think about it, right? So when she ran her 400 flat this year, right? She ran that in New York City at the New York City Grand Prix. First off, conditions were rough. Yeah. She almost set the American record.
Yeah.
And she had no one to race against. I think if she had someone like Nikisha Price pushing her, like, I think I think it'd be tight, but I think Sydney would win. I do. I like that hypothetical, though.
Yeah, I'm cheering for Sydney, but I'm team Nikisha Price right now. Like,
Okay.
I'm a fan of both, but I'm like, you know what? Nikisha Price.
I would go with Sydney as well.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that is obviously she's run the 400 and last year and made a big pull for it. But I think you put her up against the best in the world, she'll probably win because she just loves to compete like that.
Yeah.
So it's she didn't double at the Olympics, although we would have loved to see it.
I would have loved that.
But I think we should lock it in after the Olympics. Get a diamond league together with like the Olympic champion in Sydney.
Yeah.
At 400.
Well, hey, with Grand Slam track, right? She will have to run the 400 hurdles and the flat 400 when she gets out there.
Just get Nikisha Price into that mix too.
I guess
we
we'll
can
see.
it. All right, as we head into the Olympics, there's a lot of things we need to dissect. Number one, there's just been some spicy things on social media, specifically on Twitter. I know we have a tweet with Quincy Hall. Noah Lyles was on a podcast, talked about his thoughts on a 4x4. So how should we break this down? Let's dissect it a little bit. Here's the tweet from Quincy Hall.
Are you not? I think we need to give context more to this tweet, though. Are you not giving the context?
I can give the context. That's fine. So Noah Lyles has been talking about how he said on a podcast, the only reason I wouldn't use the current U.S. champion, speaking of the 4x4, is because I don't think he would be a starter. I feel like using him on the first leg would just be almost like a waste to his talent. I just don't see him getting his full capability out of the first leg. And then he talked about how he thought himself, Chris Bailey, Michael Norman, and Rai Benjamin should be on the 4x4. And then Quincy shared that tweet, which we just had up on the screen. So what are our thoughts on this?
I think I wrote in my notes just like shrug emoji. Like, look, come on. Like, Quincy Hall's the U.S. champion, the 400, second fastest in the world this year. There's no way he's going to be left off a 4x400 meter final. Like, this is like, it's all this back and forth just stems, I think, from someone wanting to add some drama and get some clicks ahead of these games, right? Like, why are we having this conversation in the first place? Like, it's just, I don't get it. Like, I think it's whatever. We're going to see Quincy Hall on the relay. I don't blame him for trying to stand up for himself personally. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Like, how do you not have Quincy Hall on the 4x4?
I don't know. Look,
That's
man,
like
again,
having Noah. That's like having Noah Lyles not on the 4x1.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's what it would come down to.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I'll keep it surface level.
Surface level. Okay, Corey, your thoughts.
Just a note too. I did shout out to Colin at Track World News. He was on the podcast with Colin and his co-host there. So good get by them. And a great interview by Noah Lyles, who didn't just pick up shade with Quincy Hall, but he also picked up shade with Jamaica.
Yeah, see, how did we forget about
Right,
that?
he kind of gave some inside baseball knowledge. Obviously, he is together with June Broomfield, right, sprinter at Jamaica, and they communicate about things, right? And he kind of gave Colin a little inside baseball on Jamaica and what's happening there. So Jamaica didn't like that. They're like, "What is happening?" But I agree. I mean, like, this is not even an issue for me. Like, Quincy Hall is going to be on the relay. This is just talk. I think it's spicy, but like the reality is like nothing's going to happen from this. I think Quincy's going to be on the relay. Whether Noah is on or not, that's another question. But I know for a fact Quincy will be on a final. He was on the World Championship final last year. So, and he's earned the spot. So,
I mean, Quincy's ready to race. He's like, let's get
ready
in
to
the
go.
blocks. Let's
Got the
fight
blocks
this out
ready.
using our actual speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this the other day too. Before social media, and the Olympics were happening in 04, 08, 12, whatever, there were these conversations were happening. We just weren't learning about them. So this is basically like what's happening in our world today, right? We have these platforms that we can give to people, and we're hearing things that we would never hear, which is good. But I think this dialogue always existed, right?
Oh, yeah. I agree. We're just now seeing it in our faces.
There's more light on it now.
Yeah.
You know? Because typically it's been, if you look on like previous rosters, you would see like the top 6 from the 100 and the 400, but then all of a sudden you get to Worlds, and then all of a sudden it's not the top 6 that were in the 100 and 400 fields coming from trials. You're like, oh, lots of big questions, you know? So, yeah, I think because like you said, Corey, with social media, we just see it and people have the right to say whatever they want to say. So we say what we want to say.
And I mean, I guess maybe if you're Noah Lyles, you're like, I'm trying to think of the saying, like, all good press is good, or all press is good press, or something
Even
like that.
bad press is good press.
Yeah. Like, I mean, shoot, he's trying to hype himself up. Let's think about that. You know, he wants people to tune in, right? He said that he wants to not just to, I guess, tune in for track, right? And if you add some of that drama to it, let's be real, some people are going to watch maybe some of that more.
Yeah, actually, you brought up a great point. I think in the lead up to the Olympics, Noah has been talking to a lot of media personnel, obviously. So GQ just published a story, I think, yesterday. It's a profile on Noah, and I talked to y'all about a weird magazine I've never seen before. He was on the cover of it. And he has been basically proclaiming that he's going for 4 golds.
Yeah.
So this has been his storyline the whole time, 4 golds, 4 golds.
Right.
If you speak it into existence enough, does it happen? I don't know. But he is making that like a part of like his Olympic sort of promotion.
Yeah.
Yep, going after it. And then you have poor Grant Holloway, who constantly is just trying to get on a relay. I'm like, come on, Grant.
Well, Grant used to run the relay. You sent me a video recently of him running, what was it, the 4x4 at the NCAA indoors or something like that for Florida?
Yep. I went down a whole rabbit trail. You know, the algorithm, it has me now. I'll be watching, Diamond League, and all of a sudden it will bring up like NCAA stuff, and then it will throw back to like when I was running in college. I'm like, Grant! There was Grant on a relay, and I think he split like 43 seconds at one point.
Who's splitting faster right now, Grant Holloway or Noah Lyles on a 4x4?
Oh gosh, I think Noah Lyles. I think because he's been preparing for it. I'm not saying Grant probably has not been preparing, but Grant hasn't been like throwing it out there. Put me on the 4x4. I feel like Noah has been like ready.
Do you not think Noah can be on a 4x4?
Oh man.
I mean, we saw him. Let's back it up back to like March, right? He did run the 4x4 final at World Indoors. I'd have to look up the splits again. He didn't split the slowest, but he didn't split the fastest either. He was there in the middle.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you could put him on a 400, but I questioned, like, I mean, yeah, you've been focusing on the 100 and the 2, and he said that he's been working, kind of more on that endurance speed side of things, but like, I mean, yeah, you could put him on there, but is he the best option?
No. But
so, you know what I mean? But like, he could run.
You already talked about how relays are political.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, if you are, it'll boil down to this. If you are USA Track and Field, the team, Noah Lyles is over here trying to be the face of track and field and grow the sport, talking about 4 gold medals. Mm-hmm. Do you put on the relay just because of that, for that the politics of that, or do you go with someone else?
The more I think about it, the more I think it's already been in motion.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Mm. Yeah.
The more I think about it.
It might be.
The more I think about USATF and the way they operate and the way like things go, the more I believe it's already in motion. Like, I don't have any facts to back that up. That is just my personal thought, but I feel like that is the way it's going. Based on what we're hearing from Noah in the press, what we're seeing on social media, right? The way we've seen relays operate, the way they pick teams, I would not be surprised in the slightest to see him on the 4x4.
I mean, think about it. Four gold. If you could get 4 gold medals, I mean, think about what that does to Noah Lyles' trajectory or legacy, if you want to call it that. Like, I mean, that cements you as like if you can win 4 Olympic gold medals, I mean, that cements you as one of the best.
Yeah. So we'll get.
I don't know. The shark emoji.
We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the repechage rounds, which will be introduced in Paris. So what does this all mean? We've all done a deep dive into this, and I'm pulling all of this information from World Athletics, from the Olympics website itself. So there will be a repechage round, which will be introduced this Paris Olympics. It's new. This was announced by World Athletics July 25th of 2022, so it's been out there. So from the Olympics website, these rounds will be for all individual track events from the 200 meters all the way through the 1500, and it also includes the hurdles. In each first round, of course, we're used to seeing that certain number of athletes who will get the guarantee to progress to the semifinal rounds, indicating the big Q. So for example, the top 3 finishers in each heat, regardless of their finishing times, we all know them as the automatic big Q that you see on the screen. So athletes who don't hit the automatically qualifying positions, also known as the big Q, in the first round will have a chance to qualify to the semifinal rounds by participating in these repechage heats. And to be noted, the 100 meters does have these prelim rounds. We typically see them like before the start of like the major first rounds. So they will have that. So the repechage round will not be introduced for this. So there won't be any rounds for the 3K because they're giving the athletes time to recover in between rounds. So what does this actually mean? There'll be a round 1, repechage, which would be the second, semifinals and finals. And the Olympic website said the positives from this is every athlete who is competing will definitely have a chance to, including the repechage rounds, will be able to run 2 races at the Olympic Games. So with all of that information now that we've just taken in, how do we feel about it now that it's about to be implemented into these games?
I mean, it's different, right? Like, I think you mentioned World Athletics or whatever, trying to hint at the positive, right? Everyone gets to race twice at the Olympics. Yep. Cool. It's not, say you have a terrible race that first time, you have a second chance to go out there and run. And I think that's pretty cool. However, I also think like it almost puts, which is kind of you could say a good thing. It does put some more pressure on that first round, right? Like there's more stakes involved. Like you have to get those auto cues or else you're going to have to go out there and run again. And I'm sure some of those athletes, if you're a top athlete, you don't necessarily want to have to run again to get to a semifinal. So I think that does add a little bit more stakes involved. And I think that's kind of a good thing because sometimes the first rounds, you just see the typical athletes go through, get their cues and continue on. So that may add a little bit of an element to that.
Yeah, I agree. Corey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And rather than like in terms of the visual component of it, where you have the athlete always waiting and sort of the callbacks to see if they've gotten the fastest time or not. Now you actually put them back on the track and you give them the opportunity. We've seen in previous cases where some of our best performers in the world don't qualify through. Shericka Jackson, who I'll probably talk about a little later, did not qualify in 2021 in the 200 because she eased up at the line. Daniel Roberts, we talked to him about falling before, right, in the first round in a hurdle race. So it's for cases like this where you give people extra opportunities to maybe, reinsert themselves when they should have been there. So I think that there's a whole strategic play, I think, on the way you race the second one compared to the one you raced the first time. So, but I like it. This already exists in tennis, by the way, right, in big major tournaments.
Yep.
Where if, you have somebody that's out and there's withdrawal going in the next round, they'll have that lucky loser phrase back into the draw. So I think it's a good format change. I think it'll bring some new, some good audience.
Yeah. I have like mixed emotions. I love hearing both of your perspectives. I love your perspective of like Daniel Roberts falling, like here's another opportunity. Like it's not like the end of the world. I can just get up, try it again. But at the same time, if I'm someone that's like trying to cruise and I know the heat might be fast and if I'm able to be close enough to get my automatic cue, like I'm just thinking about the 400. There's no way your girl's running. Like I don't want to run like 4 rounds of the 400 meters, like, so I feel like I think I just have to see how this plays out. Like I just got to see how this Olympics goes.
If you're that athlete, you were saying you don't want to run 4 rounds, so then you better get your time.
Yeah,
better run well in that
now,
first round. So that's what I'm saying. Like I think that's
Adds
a good thing
pressure.
because I don't know. Like sometimes the first rounds are boring. You see everyone coasting and stuff like that. Like this adds another element.
He's like, just bring it on. Bring it on. All right. So again, this will be implemented. So first round, repechage round, semifinals, and then finals. So for our last 2 segments, we're going to dive into some of our athletes that we think could gain or lose some, I guess, what do they have to gain and what do they have to lose moving forward? So let's talk about which Olympic athletes do we feel have the most to gain going into Paris? And Corey, I'll start with you with this one.
Noah's an easy one. If he wins 3 medals, 2 medals, 4 medals, he's a household name. Right now, he is a name. He's not a household name to everybody, right? He's not Carl Lewis yet. So he has the most to gain if he wins. He also has the most to lose if he doesn't. So that's probably your next segment. But I think in the other case here, I have Cole Hawker or Yared Nuguse. I think last American to win a 1,500-meter title is Matthew Centrowitz. He is a legend in our sport, and those two both can become the next legend. I think they're definitely in the picture here, but it is a loaded field. So if American comes away with the 1,500-meter title, I think you have so much to gain. There's so much that will go your way if you win a gold medal in the 1,500 meters. So that's my pick.
All right. Ashley, what about for you?
Kind of taking a different route. I'm going to go with Nia Akins in the women's 800, right? Like, I think obviously we're in this unique situation in the women's 800 where the reigning gold medalist will not be there. Obviously, it's a loaded field. We just saw Keely Hodgkinson run 154 and Jomariki 155. But, like, think about it. Nia Akins, she's a back-to-back U.S. champion in the women's 800, and I think she has a shot to be in the mix for medals in the finals. I mean, she's ran really consistently 157s throughout the year, and I think there's something that comes with being a back-to-back U.S. champion, and then if you can deliver that on, like, the Olympic stage, then I mean, you have to consider her one of the best in the world in the women's 800, you know? And so I think that this is something that could be huge for Nia Akins, who I think for a while, it's been a journey for her, right? Like, she's fallen at the U.S. championships and trials before, I think at the 2021 trials to go to Tokyo. Now I think, you know, that almost like that comeback journey from like that moment to then if she can win a medal in Paris, like that, I think that just has a huge career trajectory for her especially in that women's 8.
Mm-hmm. I like that pick. For me, I had Brittany Brown. I think Brittany I called her Wonder Woman in my notes. And the reason why I feel like she's Wonder Woman is because she's just been remarkable over this season. She's just been able to execute some really tough races. And I think she really got out and just done extraordinary things. She's been putting out really best times. She's been someone that's just been in contention for, I feel like now because she's putting out so much effort and progressing so well that I think she could be someone to look out for in this 200 meters. She's going to have athletes like Mackenzie Long. She's going to have athletes like Dina Asher-Smith and Gabby Thomas to have to face in this 200 meters. But I think she could really rise to the occasion. And I think she is someone who could really surprise a lot of people. So that's why I feel like she has so much to gain, because I feel like she's just been kind of towing that line as someone that could be on that podium. And I really think that she can really spark out for the Olympics just coming up in just a couple days. So with all that being said, let's move on. Which Olympic athlete has the most to lose? Ashley.
Well, you already hinted at it. No, Lyles has the most to gain, but he also has the most to lose. So I'm taking that side of the argument here. Like you said, what could he gain from the Olympics? Become a household name, one of the best to do it in sprints, maybe 4 gold medals, who knows? But if he loses, you know, the 100, the 200, or both, you know, he risks being the guy known as someone that can win at every stage except the Olympics, right? Like he hasn't won an Olympic gold medal. Think back to Tokyo, he didn't win gold there in the 200. And so I think like now looking at this, like if you can win at every stage but then not back up your talk when it comes to the Olympics, that does bring stuff to lose. That's for sure. And I think that's a risk. However, I mean, he's been very confident and he looks very strong going into this, so we'll see.
Is it like the boy who cried wolf too, almost? Too?
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, that's a good metaphor. Yeah, it's like I agree.
Yeah. All right. Corey, for you.
I agree with Ashley. I also think Shericka Jackson, mostly because she has the most pressure on her. We saw in sprint, and we learned a lot about Jamaican culture and how they view their athletes. It is the number one sport in the country. Mm-hmm. They expect their athletes to win, not to get medals, to win. So I think she has a lot of pressure on her back, especially with, you know, Elaine not being at the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, I think she is the number one draw here for the country. And she is the defending 200-meter world champion. She medaled in the 100, but I just think there's so much pressure. We saw what happened in Tokyo with her in 2021. So how you manage that, how you get through that is going to be really, really important. She has a lot, I think, to lose in terms of just what she's dealing with emotionally. I think that's detrimental in some ways. But if you're strong enough to get past it, right, you can be the hero. So I think a lot of people are believing that she'll get it done. But, you know, there's two sides to it.
Mm-hmm. Do we know if after Hungary from the Continental Tour, do we have an update of like how she is?
It was just a cramp. It was just a cramp.
Okay, because I was concerned. I was like, oh no.
She pulled up in that race and didn't. Well, I think she finished, but it was like 30 6 seconds or something. She just kind of walked across the line. But yeah, they said it was just a cramp.
Okay, thank goodness. All right, I was like, please, hope it's nothing serious. I'm honestly rooting for Shericka Jackson. Like, just seeing what she did last year, being so close to the world record. Like, I feel like a lot of people are just backing her up. But yeah, Corey, it's just, I feel like there is that. It does come with that a lot of pressure with, as you mentioned, Elaine Thompson-Herah not being in it. She's
Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price is her last Olympics. So like, who's that next?
Who's the next
like,
one?
You know what I mean? And I think back to what, we had an interview inside lane, Johan Blake over the weekend in London, talking about like, if you aren't winning in Jamaica, you're going to feel disrespected, right? Yeah. Think about it. Like, he's won silver medals at the Olympics back in 2012, and he's had rough times since then, especially this year. And he said, he's like, man, I've gotten a lot of disrespect. And so I think that's something you have to think about when you're talking about what you have to lose.
Yeah. I think for me, we've talked about this guy multiple times, but Jakob Ingebrigtsen, I'm like, we all know this man knows how to talk the talk. I think we need to back it up now. It's time for that Olympic gold medal in the 15. It's a stacked race. It's a stacked field. There's going to be a lot of contenders going after him, like Josh Kerr, and we just need to see a gold. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, he did win gold in 2021, so he's the defending champion.
Right.
But again, we've seen him lose 2 1,500-meter world finals since then.
Yes.
And with a finishing kick from Jake Whiteman and then Josh Kerr. I agree, though. It's like, can you get it done? If not, like, what are what's at risk there? I think a lot's at risk.
Yeah, I think him and Lyles kind of they feel similar in a lot of ways. I don't know if they know each other, they've ever spoken before, but that would be a good chat, I think, to have between those two.
I would love to see that.
They both talk a big talk. Let's just put it that way. I agree.
And they both back it up too, right? So they probably feel, honestly, I think that would be an amazing conversation to have. Put them together. I agree with you. I think he does have a lot to lose if he doesn't win. Obviously, he's more than just the 1,500-meter runner. But that's his baby, I think, to get it done. So
I agree. So with all that being said, that wraps up this week's podcast. Ashley will be flying out to Paris next week. Paris. So Ashley's looking forward to being on the ground along with Brian Dybel. So Corey and I will be holding down the fort here in Austin as you guys have a great time in Paris. Be safe, have fun,
and be on the lookout. I think we're going to be trying to doing some more daily recap shows from Paris, from the studio. I'll be trying to call in from Paris. I think that's something that you guys can look forward to with the podcast during the Olympics. I know it's going to be a big time, so we want to be able to share all that.
My only request is you get one of those. Is it a benet? Would get one of those hats.
Oh, beret? Beret. A beret? You want me to wear a beret?
Yeah, and then have a baguette.
A baguette in one hand, and then a cup of coffee in the other.
And just start to infuse your personality with French culture.
Yes. I need to blend, right? I need to blend. You'll see me slowly every day as you talk to me. I'm becoming more French as the days go by.
Yep.
I love it. So you can also stay tuned to FloTrack for all of the content on the Paris Olympic Games with AU Junior Olympics. It's also happening simultaneously as well. But please subscribe our YouTube. We love hearing from you guys. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.